When you work with people that really do personal films their way for very coded, emotional reasons, I feel more like an artist. Just being with them, I feel. And when I say artist, I mean someone that makes something, someone that expresses something. You don't know where it's going to go.
Chaos reigns.
I just feel the artistic struggle is more poetic than the struggle of just find out how to make something work. I worked with Lars von Trier on Manderley, and I've always liked his movies, and I wanted to work with him again. And I hadn't heard about what he was working on for a long time, so I got in touch with him and said, Lars, what are you up to? And he said, well, I'm writing this thing and it's terrible. I don't know. I just really don't know whether it's going to ever get made, but it's important to me. I don't know. Do you want me to send it to you? But he said it in a way that clearly, as like a friend, just let me send you what I'm working on. And I read it, and I really responded to it immediately and called him up and said, Lars, this is fantastic. I mean, what are you doing with it? I'd love to be involved. And he's like, really? And he had to do a shift because I think he was thinking very much of casting the woman first and casting the man off the woman. But then I think he was happy with my enthusiasm. And he was in a time where he was feeling very insecure about, the status of the project. So, without congratulating myself, I think it helped push it forward a little bit. And he said, okay, yeah, no, this is interesting. This is interesting. He said, you should have your wife read it. I think he thought there was too much sex and violence in it. Not that I'm known to shrink from those things, but I don't know, something about it. I think he just didn't see me in the role originally. He was in a very low place. This was a technique to get out of a very, very deep depression. I think he was eager to have an actor that wanted to work with him on this. He needed someone to totally support him without busting his balls about what stuff meant or, what the fallout would be or anything like that. And I feel like I'm the perfect guy to work with him. The process of finding an actress was quite a long process. It started happening way before I was even involved. And then once I got involved, I looked at some tapes with Lars and also read some actresses, went to Denmark a couple of times. I had a good feeling when things started to point towards Charlotte. I thought she was a very good choice. Stylistically, I thought it was, I had great hopes for the movie. I thought it was a beautiful screenplay. I liked the fact that he was kind of marrying the two extremes of movies that I've seen of his before, stylistically. The very formal, composed, artificial shots next to the very loose camera with an acting style that's not, it's scripted, but it has even though it's dramatic, it's got a loose feel to it. Many of the images came to him from dreams, and they were quite abstract for him. He wasn't worried about a narrative, just a very rudimentary one. He didn't know where it was going. He didn't have a particular point of view, I don't think. He belied some prejudices, like clearly he didn't like my character, and I always had to fight with him and say, Lars, don't tie my hands so much. You can give me the action of making her better, but don't make me do this to kind of signal that the guy's a jerk, I like the fact that I knew the way to enter into this movie. I mean, not only to do the role, but also I knew part of the process would be I'd have to learn about this therapy, and I'd have to kind of embrace this guy's way of thinking. So to prepare for it, obviously, I had to learn a little bit about exposure therapy. I suppose that's what interested me most. In my understanding, one of the central themes of this cognitive behavior therapy is examining thinking errors. It's not so much how you feel. It's about you have an aversion to something and you want to explore how reasonable that is. Lars had partly rejected this therapy, so he wasn't quite behind it. I couldn't have his kind of rejection of that affect me. And of course, we found ways to keep some of the flavor of the language and not make it seem so kind of academic or laughably stiff in a therapeutic kind of way. And sometimes we succeeded and sometimes we didn't, but that was always the challenge.
What I understood is that you wanted to ride alone. That you and Nick were going to go to Eden, just the two of you. That way you could finish your thesis.
But I didn't.
You didn't.
You see? I didn't even know that.
Lars basically prohibits rehearsal. We do little read-throughs, but you don't block out anything. I don't know whether I can express how unusual and how scary this is for an actor to have a very long dialogue scene and basically, not know where the camera's going to be or know where the actions are going to take you. You basically perform. There's very little preparation. The preparation is you know your dialogue. And even Lars tells you, although I somewhere don't believe him, he says, don't even worry about the dialogue. It's liberating to have the camera so fluid. You can't control it. And the only thing you can control is the quality of being there and your commitment to the pretending.
You shouldn't have come here. You're just so damn arrogant.
And accepting the story and sort of becoming the story. It's one of the pleasures was I really felt like a collaborator on this. So much was unspoken. It's not a collaboration of ideas, but it's a collaboration of you've got Lars there, and then we're the active parts of his mind playing this stuff out. You're an agent of his fantasy, and because he's a watcher, he's not a doer. You become him. You act out his little fantasies. It was also important for me to drive the scenes. So I had to appeal to the less troubled part of Lars and the more pragmatic part of Lars, where he would really depend on me sometimes to shape things. I felt like I had a lot of responsibility, but it was perfect because I'm the therapist, I'm the rationalist, I'm the guy that's trying to get things together, hold things together. It was kind of nice that I had that job because that became sort of the character.
I can't do this.
Yes, you can. You can and you will, just like I will. We're gonna walk together.
I think the whole idea somewhere for Lars of not rehearsing something is he doesn't want to have the actors have control. Control of themselves and also control over each other. If we were speaking, we were collaborating in a way where we were agreeing on certain points to hit. And except for with very few rare, practical considerations, that's not what we wanted because we wanted to surprise each other. We wanted to give each other a hard time. We wanted to really come up against the argument. We wanted to flirt with, the guilt and the emotion and the darkness. The most difficult scenes, in a funny way, are the ones where you have to find the right tone, running around with that millstone on your leg. How much do you wallow in the pain? How much do you embrace certain kind of conventions of making sure you just aren't distorted, screaming animal the whole time? Those are places where you don't know where to find because you have nothing to guide you, because you're creating images and you're creating a tone.
Easy. Never screw your therapist.
But the scenes where the actions are clear, yes, they're delicate emotionally, but I like Charlotte. I feel comfortable with Lars. I like the themes that we're playing with. There's funny conversations, you know, sometimes like, you're okay if I, yeah, you know, it's like that. Or, I'm sorry, I didn't hurt you, did I? You know, this kind of thing. When I do a film, my favorite experiences usually come when I am working every day, just because a certain kind of self-consciousness drops away. It's full immersion. You have a greater chance to really be transformed and change how you're thinking and abandon certain kind of expectations or things that you need. You can really become the thing. And the tragedy of an actor is sometimes they need people and a structure to play that out. And I think that's why I was attracted to Lars, because he's a perfect structure and he's a perfect person to play that out with. Lars has a reputation for being tough, perverse, messing with people. There's lots of stories. There's famous stories about Nicole Kidman and Bjork. For me personally, it wasn't a concern. I was aware of it, and he is perverse, and sometimes you do get angry at him and think, you little brat, you know? I think he really loves actors, but I think he only goes after people that resist. When we've had our kind of first meet and greet of all the crew, before, you know, we're introducing, we're going around the room introducing each other, saying, I'm so-and-so, I'm the grip, you know, I'm so-and-so. And it was coming around to us, and he says, let's drop our pants. Totally juvenile, totally crazy. Come on, let's show them our dicks. You got to deal with that, but it's also kind of fun. His directions sometimes can be very ironic and can be very silly too. I say, Lars, you know, just to check in with him if he has nothing to say after a scene and we're going to do it again. And he'll go, there was a great chance that this movie would not get finished. That was right in front of us all the time. Every day it was questionable whether Lars would feel well enough to come to the set. And he had a lot of support, but he was very shaky. I remember he would come to me sometimes at the end of the day and say, today was very difficult for me. I think tomorrow I won't be on set. He said, I'll be in my little trailer, you know, which will be parked away from the set, and I'll be watching you on a monitor, and I'll get messages to you. But I will not be on the set because it's too close. I'm too close, you know. But he never did that. He'd threaten to do it all the time. So it was a little bit like I'd say, Charlotte told me, Lars told me that he's not going to come tomorrow. And she said, he told me the same thing. You know, we'll see. But it never happened. But the whole film was always this balancing act. You never knew if one day we'd go and it would just collapse. When I was doing Press in Cannes, this is a very sincere film. This is a very personal film. That's what I felt, because I knew the price he paid and what he did to try to make this movie, to try to make something that, you know, isn't about career, isn't about, you know, just a dry exercise. This was a really heartfelt, scary thing for him to do. I felt it. It was hard for him to come to work every day, and he loves to work. Believe me, with what we did and what was in the original screenplay, it could have been much more disturbing. I mean, as far as its explicitness and the violence, the order of the day wasn't to shock people. He could have done much better if that was what his plan was. I think he really just wanted to make a beautiful movie. As always, you have so many associations to the shooting, so on some level it's like a home movie. Oh, so it looked like that. I didn't think it was going to look like that. Oh, they didn't use that shot. Too bad. Oh, I thought that was going to be a better scene than it was. Oh, that's much better than I thought it was going to be. But I like watching the movie. Of course, it disturbs me, and I don't even see myself in it. But it does push some buttons in me. It is enigmatic, but I don't even have to know what it means. There's something beautiful just about the event of all those figures, you know, coming up the side of this mountain. In a funny way, it's one of my favorite parts of the movie. I really see it differently each time I see it. I think the controversy for Antichrist was very specific to Cannes. Here, nothing really happened. I mean, a quite small release, and I don't think there's a great awareness of it. I mean, it's seen as an art film. I don't think the film ever got its day in court here, because I think it works on a lot of different levels. It's not a horror movie, but there are those elements in it. People go to movies with much less content than that, you know? It's not a commercial movie because the story expresses some sort of meditation on guilt and our evilness. I think for a lot of people, they want to push that away. That's not their idea of a good time. For me, to go towards that stuff really unlocks something that really frees me. I like those movies. This is the kind of movie for me.